So we're all waiting for the Switch 2 to be announced, so we know what it looks like and get an idea of the specification. Well, leaks have been coming through thick and fast, and as you can see, we've got some images to share today. Now, this is supposedly the Switch 2, but take everything with a pinch of salt. These could be early renders, or someone could have just made them in their basement. But as you can see on screen now, they're saying this is what the Switch 2 is going to look like. So looking at this 3D render from the front of the Switch, we can see that it's got a lot bigger screen by the looks of it. The device itself is more rounded on the corners, and we've actually got an extra button on the right Joy-Con. The rest of the buttons seem pretty standard as we had before, so the only thing really to note here is it's a lot rounder and it's got that extra button. Now if we're looking at the back of the device, there's a couple of things here again. The buttons to release the Joy-Cons look massive compared to the original ones. And then of course the stand itself looks like it's going to be the same as the OLED kickstand, which was a massive improvement on the old Switch. Again, we can see it's very curved and round. Now, if we look at the Joy-Cons themselves, it looks like the rumours about them magnetizing and clicking onto the main unit itself are true, because we've no longer got those Joy-Con rails where they slide down. It looks like it's using a magnetized and maybe like a clip and clip off method. So that would be a massive improvement. And again, we can see that extra button. Zooming right in, it looks like we have the home button still, but then we have an extra button that has the letter C on it. Now, if we look at this photo of the Joy-Cons, and the right one in particular, you can see the pins in there. So the Joy-Cons definitely come from the side in towards the screen rather than sliding down. So if we take a look at this render, the one at the top is going to be the new Switch 2. Again, supposedly, we don't know for sure, everything with a pinch of salt, but the original Switch is underneath it. And I say original Switch because it's got the old V1, V2 kickstand. So as you can see from this image, it looks a lot bigger. And of course, we've also got a rendered image from the back. So the one at the bottom, you can see that big cutout where the original sort of kickstand would be, where the vents are, etc. Now, if you look at the one at the top, that's supposedly the Switch 2. It looks like they're going to keep the same kickstand as the OLED Switch, but you'll also notice it's a lot more rounded. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I'm for it or against it. I guess we'll have to wait till they do the official sort of announcement of the Switch 2 to see how it sort of looks in real life. Talking of real life, it looks like someone has actually taken a photo of this. So if I'd have just seen the renders on their own, then I wouldn't have even bothered making a video. But it looks like we can see those Joy-Con shells and then at least part of the Switch. I think what we're looking at here is a motherboard for the Switch 2 that's unpopulated, and of course the center metal chassis, which looks very similar to the OLED and the original Switches. But let's take a closer look, because there's some things that we're going to be able to tell from this. So first of all, it looks like this is where the cartridge slot is going to go, roughly the same place as it does on the other Switch models. And then next to it, that looks like where the headphone jack would be. Just because of the shape and size of it, it would just make sense. Now, just above that, we can see this configuration of 3 chips. Now, I would assume the big chip in the middle, bottom left of the configuration, that's going to be the SoC, so the CPU and GPU. And the 2 chips next to it, well, they're going to be your RAM chips. Now we could spend hours looking at this, trying to figure out where everything would reside, where the micro SD card slot's going to be, if it even has one. Now we could spend hours looking at this, trying to figure out where everything goes, but let's just move on and have a look at the technical specifications. Now, some of this stuff isn't really that interesting. So it's going to be using an SoC, so that's the GPU and CPU, model GMLX30-R-A1. Now, I've done some digging online, and the only things that are coming back are posts and forum posts and articles on the leak itself. So for all intents and purposes, this at the moment doesn't mean anything. Now, when it comes to the memory, it's saying it's going to be using 6 GB of LPDDR5X, 7,500 microtransactions. Now, at first, stupidly, I thought, oh, it's only going to have 6 gig. But a good friend of mine actually said, no, this is probably the chips they're using, and they're using 2 of them, which would give it 12 gigabytes, which would fall in line with some of the previous leaks we've seen. The next thing to note is the flash storage. Obviously, the old ones had eMMC and it was really slow, but this is using 256 gigabytes of UFS 3.1, which is a lot faster than eMMC, not quite as fast as the blistering speeds you've seen with the M.2s of Gen 4 and obviously the PS5 and Xbox Series X, but still a massive improvement on the old consoles. Now, as far as the rest of the specs go, we're not really interested in what speaker, microphone, microcontrollers, etc. that it's using. The main thing here is the RAM and of course that SoC, but we don't even know the specifications of the SoC, we just know what the model number is. Now, just before you go, as I said at the beginning of the video, take everything with a pinch of salt, because we don't know if this is credible or not, but let's hope that some of these things actually come true. And I guess we'll just have to wait until Nintendo officially releases and unveils the Nintendo Switch 2. So that's it from me for now, but as always, subscribe, like, hit that bell, tinkle tinkle, and I'll catch everyone in the next one.